Good morning, everyone. Today is January 30th, 2026, and this is the final live trading session of the month of January for 2026. Today we are looking at the exact same pairs we've been looking at all month. We got NASDAQ, we got US 30, and we have gold. We have the sentiment, which came out for US 30. That sentiment is practically 50-50. Except we have a little bit more stocks that came out bearish today than we did bullish. We have the sentiment for NASDAQ, which came out as bearish for today, and we have the sentiment for gold, which came out as bearish for today as well. We also had a core PPI news event this morning at 7:30, and that core PPI news event came out positive for the dollar, so we came out at 0.7%, and we were forecasted at 0.2%. And then our PPI, like just the sentiment numbers, came out at 0.5%. We were projected 0.2%. So that is all of the news updates for today. We are now currently looking at what price is doing. We know that NASDAQ just opened here at 8:30. We just broke structure here at 8:30 with this candle. And we also know that we have this low of the day in the market as our sell side target. Okay, so there's that set up. And again, we'll wait and see if any opportunities present themselves on this pair. And then we have US 30. US 30 has now opened quite bullish. So move this to new day. Let's set our pricing up with what it needs to be. This breaker structure no longer matters. This previous day low doesn't matter. This is the 48,773 key level, which was a sweep of the previous liquidity. But really all we can mark out is the fact that we know that we have a low of the day here. That was created in London session with this 345 candle. And we also know that we have this breaker structure here to the downside, which is what created that low of the day, was sweeping the previous day's price. Let me change this to a breaker structure, actually. And then finally, we know that on the contrary, on the high side, well, we've already created a high of the day with the breakout that we're already starting to create now. And we know that if we are going to continue running bullish, the next relative target would be this previous high of the week. And so that is the premise for US 30. And then finally, let's mark out 8:30 as well. And then finally, we have the premise for gold. Again, the gold sentiment has come out as bearish for today as well. And so same exact premise. We have high of the day, which was created at 12:10 this morning. We have low of the day, which was created at 3:50 this morning. And then we also know that yesterday's price action swept the current low of the week, or it swept the low of the week yesterday, which was Monday. And so that's what this price action stab did, or earlier in London session, my apologies. Earlier in London session, we swept the current low of the week, which was that Monday low. And so now we've created low of the week with that London pricing. And so again, we'll continue to sit on our hands and see if any opportunities do present themselves today. Okay, just an update. I'm kind of monitoring this 5-minute on YM. The only issue with this is that the sentiment for today, like I have talked about at the beginning of this session, has come out more bearish than it has bullish. And so the confidence in this trade, especially with it being on a Friday, is low. This is a low probable trade. We also know that, again, this kind of falls into the premise of the trade that I broke down yesterday on gold that I didn't end up taking. The way that we've opened and the way that we've already broken structure here, so we already created this breaker structure to the upside, we now know that we're sitting at the current high of the day pricing. So again, the candle at 8:30 going into 8:35 has now created what is the concurrent high of the day. So with that already being created, and with us just now causing this breakout candle, which is what created this 5-minute fair value gap, again, this is just low probability, and that's exactly what you just seen. If you would have taken this trade, you would have gotten stopped out. If you would have taken this trade, your stop loss would have been at the low of the candle like we play, and then your first take profit would have been the high of the day, and your next take profit would have been liquidity to the left-hand side, this resting liquidity, and then further on, you would aim for a previous high of the week if that was one of your deep targets. But like we talked about, this is just improbable given where we are in price, and again, given that the sentiment did actually come out today as bearish. Okay, so just another little update right now. From what price is currently doing, it looks as though we will have a consolidation day. Now, mind you, it is only 8:50, and we still are not even in the new hour. But price from what has opened, like I said, we had bearish sentiment opening up, and we now see these candles just consolidating to the side and then potentially looking to explode to the upside. Same thing with MYM. MYM created this fair value gap we were talking about to look to take bulls off of. We knew, given that market open was there, we were going to leave this and let price do what it wants to do for right now. Price has now stabbed on the 15-minute into actual 15-minute liquidity. And so we'll see what this wants to do continuing into the 9 o'clock hour. And then gold's just moving sideways, not really doing anything. I had marked this 5-minute fair value gap out in gold because if price does want to explode to the downside, we can look to see if entries want to start presenting themselves, if we can start breaking structure here in order to take us down to low of the day, or even better, just take us down to the first form of liquidity in price, which is this swing low here. But other than that, price isn't really doing too much. So again, we'll just continue to wait and see what price presents. Okay, so as you can see, basically what's been happening for the last 2 trading sessions this week is the same thing that has kind of happened today. Gold has now reached its objective, which was this first short-term liquidity grab here in price. So we'll see what it wants to do now, but for the most part, I'm kind of just leaving it alone. We'll continue to watch it and monitor it just to kind of study, but like I said, I don't know that gold has the volume to get down to low of the day today. It could have the potential to do that. However, within this price leg, I've already broke down what we were looking for. We were looking for some form of pullback into this first presented bearish fair value gap at 850, and then we would expect that price in order to continue to impulse us and take us to the downside, which would have taken us down to that low of the day. And then again, on NASDAQ, nothing really going on. And on US 30, nothing really going on. Just consolidation profile. Like we talked about earlier on NASDAQ, we've already broken the high of the day and created a current high of the day with the 840 candle. So given that that's our current high of the day, it makes sense as to why we're consolidating, especially since it's a Friday. And then same thing for US 30. US 30 broke current high of the day with the 830 candle, created a high of the day, and then has now just been consolidating sideways, given that it's technically already taken its objective out for today. But yeah, that's basically everything we're looking at right now. And again, I'll keep you guys updated. Okay, just another quick little update. We are not looking to take these shorts. They do look promising, given that it is gold, given that it is a 5-minute fair value gap at the start of the session. However, we have to take into consideration what day it is as well as where we are in price. So again, it's a Friday. Given that it's a Friday and we've already completed the current low of the week objective, as well as setting a new low of the day earlier today, and just looking at this 15-minute time frame where we are, there's no reason for me to take shorts in this protocol. We've taken internal liquidity. We've now swept back into the range that we've been in since this morning when we had this drop off. And so again, I'm just going to continue to monitor this and study this price, but I will not be getting into this pullback entry, even if it does come and tap us in. Okay, so we've now stabbed into this 5-minute bearish fair value gap, as we have been talking about. And so let's see what we end up doing here. If we end up getting rejection candles that are like heavy rejection candles, and we potentially start to set up further bearish candles, we'll see if we can go on a lower time frame and unline on a 1-minute. But as we talked about, we don't really this isn't a really enticing price action. 15-minute is still showing liquidity grabs on both sides. 1 hour is still showing that we've reached exhaustion for the week. And then 5-minute time frame, again, you do have this 5-minute that it just tapped into, but we'll see what type of reactions we now start to give to the downside, if we are going to start to trade lower, or if we're going to break through this fair value gap and then just continue inside of this consolidating range. Okay, so we have taken a trade for today. Basically, what I am trying to align with is the 5-minute down to the 3-minute. So as we can see on NQ, like I talked about earlier, our sentiment did come out as bearish for today. With the sentiment coming out as bearish for today, we know that we've already tried to sweep the high, being this break of structure at 830, and then price was just consolidating throughout the session. Throughout that consolidation, again, we were looking at what price was actually doing inside of this price range. And we know that we just created this 5-minute fair value gap to the downside at 925 here with this 925 candle. And so with that 5-minute fair value gap, again, we're just looking to try and distribute us down to our first take profit, which is going to be this internal liquidity. And then our second take profit, which will be the liquidity that's resting below it on a 15-minute time frame. If we go on this 15-minute, we can see that the 15-minute fair value gap down here in price that was created at 5 o'clock this morning. And that would be the second target or second objective that we're looking for today. It's basically the only thing that we're in and looking at today. But yeah, this will be the final trade of the month, irregardless of kind of what goes down with this trade. Okay, so I've now looked at the 1-minute, and we are probably going to end up closing this around break even in a second. I'm looking at what NQ is doing, and NQ is going bullish. I don't like the fact that NQ is going bullish. compared to this YM trade that we're looking at going bearish, as well as price action is not holding for a 5-minute distribution candle like how you would want it to hold. We've already stabbed into this LQG, which is the liquidity grab at the 5-minute. And again, we have 30 seconds left for this candle to close. We need to see this candle close aggressively to the downside. We know that we're going into 940 pricing, and so we're going into the next 15-minute closing price leg, which would be 9:45 to 10 o'clock. And so again, we need to see this close aggressively to the downside, or else we'll most likely end up just closing this around break even and then just calling it a day here. We did get a pop to the downside, which was good, which was that first kind of LQG being this 1 minute here. But if this 1 minute starts to break to the upside, we know that this will probably get invalidated for today, given what 5-minute liquidity is already doing. And that's exactly what it's looking at. Is, again, we have a 5-minute fair value gap now that is looking to be formed if this candle continues to go to the upside. And that will probably end up taking us out for today if this 5-minute LQ is actually going to hold. So I'll just stay on here because I don't think there's a reason for me to cut off the mic. I'm pretty sure we're either going to distribute to this stop loss. It's going to take us out for today, or we're going to retrace into this 5-minute LQ. And if we retrace into this 5-minute LQ, I'll just end up closing at break even. But that's kind of just the premise of what's going on for today. Again, aggressive price action. We've been sitting inside of price ranges, so nothing to really be upset about. It's just a matter of price being in those liquidity ranges, as well as the fact that we've already broke this down from a 15-minute perspective, and we know that the 15-minute is just grabbing liquidity on both sides. And so with that liquidity grab being on both sides, again, that is what is enticing this price to go higher. And as we can see, boom, there's my stop out there. And so again, minus 1% for today, perfectly fine. We still in the month positive. We still in the week positive. We were up 2% on Monday's trade, and then we just lost 1% here. So overall, we're up 1% for the week, and then still at a total net plus, or in the net positive for the month. But that does conclude today's trading session, and that also is the last trade of the month. So we will be back on Monday to start February.